Welcome inside our New York studios. Brent Silver, Cardale Jones, Kevin Carter as well. Let's get right to the highlight for the only matchup between ranked teams here in week number 2. And it was a showdown in Norman, Oklahoma. John Mateer, their new quarterback. Bryce Underwood, the guy in Michigan now. We knew it would be a heavyweight battle. Really lived up to the billing, and Mateer really burst onto the scene in his new surroundings. Nothing early on. Mateer downfield. Kanak, the one-handed catch in traffic. Later in the drive, Mateer gives it to Burks in the jet sweep. Makes it past the defenders for the touchdown. Sooners up 7-zip, and then Mateer keeps it himself, runs it to the end zone. 14-0. He was so good with his arm and his legs in this game. Now in the third, still 14-zip. Justice Haynes, who had a really good week 1 against New Mexico, and Justice Haynes, the transfer from Alabama, busts loose 75 of the house. It's a 14-7 game, Kevin.
Mateer calling his own number in the third. 10-yard touchdown run. And look, if you haven't watched this young man, he is special on his feet, making a lot of guys miss during the night. Oklahoma wins 24-13.
He had 19 carries for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Through the air, Mateer 21 of 34, 270, a touchdown, and a pick. Bryce Underwood on the other side is 9 of 24 for 142. Haynes did go over 100, but the big story here is the way that Mateer has rolled into Norman, Oklahoma, and made his presence felt with a swagger they haven't seen perhaps in a few years.
Yeah, and his swagger reminds me of another swaggy guy, Baker Mayfield, with his just swagger and the way he plays the game and the way he's willing to throw his body and put his body on the line to get that extra yard. This is John Mateer. He's Baker Mayfield 2.0. You look at what he was able to do at Washington State last year. I don't know what they're doing out there in Washington State, but they've been developing a pretty few good quarterbacks. But unfortunately, they've been good for other teams. Cam Ward last year with Miami, and now Mateer through 2 weeks of the season already putting up a great big win over a ranked opponent, Michigan. So this team is going in the right direction. Oklahoma has always been great on defense, but the last couple of years they've been missing that extra piece on offense, and Mateer is that missing piece.
Yeah, look, to me, when I look at this from Michigan's standpoint, I mean, when you look at your quarterback and your ability to manufacture points, when you come up against another good defense, that's going to be impossible to do. You can't just refine the game down to a phone booth fight and expect to win games. And that showed up drastically when you look at the stats for Bryce Underwood, only 9 of 24 in terms of passing. But back to John Mateer. Like you said, 350 total yards, 3 total touchdowns, 2 of them rushing. I mean, he put this team on his back, and like you said, he has swagger. He plays with spirit, and the rest of this Oklahoma team is feeding off of it. Look, I know this. As a defensive player, nothing better than when your quarterback is putting himself in harm's way and leading the way with the charge. He's the guy you can get behind, and Venables has had this defense ready for kind of a while now, but now they finally have the quarterback to make them a formidable team.
Burks, 7 catches, 101, and a touchdown. The jet sweep was the touchdown. Obviously, they win it 24-13. As a team, they run for 138, and Michigan falls for the first time after opening with a win against New Mexico. Quarterback situation, pretty excited with Bryce Underwood, but as we touched on, obviously not his night, going on the road in a tough environment here in week number 2. Let's take a look now at the upcoming schedule for the Oklahoma Sooners. Off to that 2-0 start. Coming up, it's on the road against Temple. Then they get Auburn at home in conference play clearly. Go out of conference for Kent State, and then that showdown, the Red River rivalry, October 11th against the Texas Longhorns.
That's what I'm looking at.
Oh, man. Got to, Kevin. And then
I got that one circled.
Well, I mean, look at that then. 4th of 5 ranked teams. Presumably, they would all remain ranked, but following Texas, I mean, that's a murderer's row with South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and then Alabama.
Well, Jackson Arnold, don't look past Auburn, guys. It's a coming home party back for him as he visits Oklahoma, the team that he just got traded for.
Good point.
The team that he just, so I'm actually looking forward to that, to see how he responds to being back in Oklahoma and going against the Sooners and so many guys he know, and a defense that he's going to be very familiar with practicing against the last year and a half.
Yeah, their schedule, to me, lines up It's hard. It's an SEC schedule, right? But that game against Texas, because Texas really never got the upper hand on Oklahoma over the years in that kind of even though Texas is considered one of these great teams, right? And Oklahoma's been down. They never really owned this rivalry. So I'm going to be interested to see, because that's going to be a spirited game. I think neither one of these wants to lose that one.
And Michigan played tough in this game. I mean, they battled back. They made it a game, had some opportunities late. This is a tough road loss. I mean, against the 18th ranked team in the country and perhaps one of the best teams in the SEC. I'll be curious to see when the dust settles, Oklahoma ends up this season. Meantime, for Michigan, let's take a look at their schedule. The 15th ranked team in the country here. Mentioned 34-17 out of Mexico. And then the loss here tonight. Central Michigan next. Nebraska on the road is going to be tough. Then Wisconsin, then at USC. In terms of ranked teams, there's nothing there at the moment until the Ohio State game. Clearly, that's the one you're pointing to, but this schedule sets up to where they might be okay this season.
Michigan has the time and seemingly the people on their schedule on paper to make them kind of dig themselves out of whatever hole we may see them in. Bryce Underwood is a capable young quarterback, and they've got some battles coming up, like I'm looking at Nebraska. Okay, it's just the battle of the young quarterbacks. I'm looking at Wisconsin. I'm looking at all the people that's on their schedule. And sooner or later, they're going to have their young quarterback grow up a little bit and be able to make some of those plays down the stretch in order to beat a quality team.
I'm loving this schedule for Bryce Underwood because he's going to get so much experience. He's going to get a crash course on being a top-level quarterback at a major university, because you look at the rest of their schedule. 3 of the 4 tougher games, I would say, is on the road when you talk about Nebraska, Washington, and you have an Ohio State at home. That helps. But I think they're at Wisconsin as well. Yeah. Those are unbelievable environments, and that's going to ultimately help those teams have that +1 on the field, because you got to deal with the crowd noise and the environment also being a little bit inexperienced at this point in your career. So he's going to get a crash course on how to be and what to expect moving forward as a Michigan quarterback.
They got something to work with in the running game, as they always do. They ran for 146 in this loss. Justice Haynes, the transfer from Alabama, 19 carries, 125 and a touchdown. But they fall by 11. Michigan is now 1-1. I want to circle back quickly to Oklahoma, because I touched on the fact that perhaps when the dust settles, this team could be in the hunt, perhaps for an SEC title. Is that what you see? I mean, we're 2 weeks in. It's hard to tell, but you feel like perhaps a momentum shift there in Norman.
Well, all we can ever do is look at the season, and if the season ended today, right, where are we right now? And right now, taking inventory, looking at Oklahoma, how they're built and how they've responded thus far, they look darn impressive, especially when you start ranking these SEC teams and Big Ten teams, figuring that there's going to be probably 9 or 10 slots for those 2 conferences alone. So, yeah, it's not inconceivable to think that Oklahoma could be one of those 4 or 5 teams that makes it in from the SEC.
Yeah, if the season ended right now, I mean, I will argue between them and LSU having the most impressive conference wins, first in the SEC, with them being the Michigan, LSU being the Tigers on the road last week of Clemson. So if they can continue this level of play, I know they're scheduled a lot tougher, starting with Texas. Yeah, they find themselves right in the mix.
All right, for Venables, he obviously has been a part of this thing the last couple of years. He wants to put his stamp on it, and this could be a breakout year for Venables at the helm at Oklahoma. Certainly an important win against Michigan Saturday night.